Good day, student. Welcome to exam-based contact session for 2020. I am VJ Shilongo, and this is the contact session for the school subject module 2, DES Bio 22. Let's see. We are going to look at the following topic: respiration. Respiration is a releasing of energy in food substances inside the cell, meaning that we look at the definition of what it is. We also look in detail of respiration in terms of where does it occur. It occurs inside the cells in a structure called mitochondria. Now, respiration, there are two types of respiration: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Now, looking at the two types of respiration, we need to be able to distinguish between the two types of respiration. In terms of aerobic respiration, it's a releasing of relatively large amount of energy in the presence of oxygen, while anaerobic respiration is the releasing of small amount of energy in the absence of oxygen. Now, let's look at in terms of both of these reaction produces ATP. Now, but aerobic respiration produces 38 ATP, whereas anaerobic respiration only produces 2 ATP. On the other hand, when you are asked to distinguish or to tabulate or to give a difference, please student, it's always good to draw a table. And when you draw a table, and let's say that table is on aerobic and anaerobic respiration, what the first point if you say, it releases energy in the presence of oxygen. What you should say, the difference on the other side must be it's a releasing of energy in the absence of oxygen. And you get 1 mark for that, because that indicates that you are giving a difference. Moving on, looking at the equation of respiration. Equation of respiration we start with, we have glucose plus oxygen. And remember, which respiration is this? Aerobic respiration. Glucose plus oxygen, and which is producing or giving off carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. We should specify not only energy but ATP. We should be able to write in words as well as the chemical equation. The chemical equation is in symbols. For example, remember we say in word we say glucose plus oxygen. The chemical equation for glucose is C6H12O6. And the plus, the chemical equation for oxygen is O2. Then you write an arrow, meaning the product is carbon dioxide, which is CO2, plus H2O, plus ATP. If it's aerobic respiration, then you must indicate 38 ATP. Good. Now, the structure of mitochondria, where respiration takes place. Now, we need to specify, there are two types of respiration: aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration, it involves 3 stages. We have glycolysis that occurs in the cytosol. Another structure of cytosol is called cytoplasm. And then the next stage occurs in the mitochondria in this structure. Now we need to know the structure of the mitochondria. The mitochondria, we said, is a double bounded organelle. What does that mean? It is made up of 2 membranes. The outer membrane, the membrane outside, and the inner membrane, the inside membrane. It also contains the outer compartment, as you can see where the labeling is. In the inner compartment, you also have a large space there which is called the matrix. In the matrix, this is where respiration takes place, especially the Krebs cycle of aerobic respiration. Now, you do have the inner membrane. The inner membrane are called cristae. Cristae if it's one, a singular, and crista if there are many. So my expectation, I would like you to discuss it, not just to draw when you are asked the structure, is to discuss it in terms of the mitochondria is a membrane bounded organelles. It's found inside the cell. It's a rod shape which is made up of the outer membrane, the inner membrane, as well as the matrix, the inner compartment, and the outer compartment. The inner membrane is called crista, where it provides a large surface area for electrons transfer system. So you really need to give more, pay attention to the structure of the mitochondria. Now, the blood vessels. The blood vessels are vital in biology because it provides you with a very basic information on how blood is transported in our body. The blood vessels are not the blood cells. Some students confuse between blood vessels and blood cells. The blood vessels are tube-like structure that transport blood throughout your body. They resemble pipes that transport water from the source to our household. Source means from the dam, from the river to our house. Now, the blood vessels are artery, vein, and blood capillary. Please, you need to know the structure of the artery, the vein, and the blood capillary, as well as the function, as well as the artery that are associated with the heart. For example, the pulmonary artery and the aorta. The vein, we do have the pulmonary vein and the vena cava. The blood capillary, take note, they are surrounding the tissue. They are connecting arterioles with a venule. Remember, arterioles are smaller artery. In the venule, these are smaller vein. The test for oxygen and carbon dioxide. Take note, oxygen is required for aerobic respiration to take place. Now, and carbon dioxide is produced as the product of aerobic respiration in human. Now, the test for oxygen, we use the glowing splint. Now, we relight it, and if it relight, that gas that is present in that environment, it is oxygen. The carbon dioxide bubble through lime water, bubble through clear lime water. And when the clear lime water turn milky, then that gas that you bubble through clear lime water, it is carbon dioxide. Excretion in human beings. We start with excretory organs, the organs that are responsible for removal of metabolic waste inside our body. And now, those organs are such as the skin, the lungs, and the kidney. The skin excretes sweat. The lungs excrete carbon dioxide. the kidney excrete urine that contain urea. Now, please, student, urea, when we are talking about urea, the link between urea, the kidney, and the liver, urea, the excretory organ, we are referring to the organ that remove urea from the blood and then allow this urea, which is now when it's filtered out of the blood, it's now combined with water and it becomes urine. The kidney excrete urine out of the body that contain urea. But that urea is produced in the liver. There is a difference with the production of urea and the excretion of urea. We excrete urea, but we excrete it as urine, where you have a combination of a mixture, not a combination, but excuse me, a mixture of urea and water. Good. Looking at excretion, you need to pay attention to the kidney in terms of the parts of the kidney, the outer part of the kidney, and also the blood vessels that are associated with the kidney. For example, from the heart, we have aorta, the renal artery, then the renal artery supply the tissue of the kidney with blood rich in oxygen, rich in nutrients such as glucose, glucose, amino acid, fatty acid, and glycogen. But it also, that blood contains urea because the urea is produced in the liver. Good. Now, then once filtration occurs in the liver, once filtration occurs in the kidney, now the filtered blood that does not contain urea leave the kidney through renal vein and it flows into vena cava, and from vena cava this blood flow back to the heart and then it continues to circulate. What happened to the urea? The urea then combined with water leave the kidney through a tube called ureter, and this urine flow into the bladder. When the blood is full, you expel it out through urinating. So urinating is a mechanism of excretion. It's an activity that we do to excrete urine out of our body. Kidney failure and treatment. Our kidneys sometimes fail, meaning that sometimes our kidney fail to filter urea out of our blood. What are some of the reasons? Kidney failure can be caused by an infection. It can be caused by an injury, high blood pressure. Those are some of the common causes of kidney failure. And what happened? What are the treatments that are there for a person? There are two treatments. The two treatments are, it's a kidney dialyzer. It's a machine that a person go to in the hospital to filter so that the blood can, so that urea can be filtered out of the blood. That dialyzer works exactly like a normal kidney. Another option, another treatment that a person will receive, it's receiving a new kidney from another person. And that we call it kidney transplant. Now, we need to look at in terms of the advantage of kidney dialyzer and kidney transplant. And also how the kidney dialyzer works. How does it work to filter the blood? And also in terms of which one is the best and which one is more convenient. What I would like to highlight there is with a kidney dialyzer, there is no continuously filtration and you cannot do spot, meaning that once you leave the hospital, once you are out of the dialyzer, your blood cannot be filtered. So that means if you consume a meal rich in protein, you will have more urea buildup in your body, and it can be fatal if the concentration of urea go to an extent of poisoning your tissue, your organ, and the normal functioning of your body. Good. The hormones. The hormones I would like to look at. Remember, please, we have endocrine gland. The endocrine gland are gland in our body. We have, for example, the thymus gland. We have the adrenal gland. Those are the ovary, the testes that produces different hormones. You need to make sure you understand them. Adrenaline is produced by the gland just on the surface of our kidney called adrenal gland. Adrenaline prepares us for action, and it influences how our heart pump. It influences our heart, our pulse rate. It also influences the conversion of glycogen to glucose by the liver. And that's where the hormone insulin and glucagon comes in. In regulation of your blood glucose level. Insulin, when your blood glucose level rises, when does that happen? When you consume a meal rich in glucose. And then your pancreas secretes insulin, and the insulin is released to your liver. Your liver will convert the excess glucose into glycogen. And the glycogen will be stored in your liver and also in your muscles cells. We have glucagon. It's a hormone that increases your blood glucose level. When what? When you did not consume a meal for a certain period of time, or when you exercise. So that exercising or not eating for a certain period of time lower your blood glucose level. And when the blood glucose level low, your glucagon convert the stored glycogen into glucose, so that the level of blood glucose level will be brought to a normal range. We look at the neuron, and this is the excretory, this is a nervous system. We have the type of neuron. There are three types of neuron: sensory neuron, relay neuron, and a motor neuron, and their function. We need to look at the type of neuron and their function in terms of the sensory neuron. It is the one which carry the nerve impulses from the sensory organ to the central nervous system. The relay neuron is found in the middle. It's found in the central nervous system. It is the one that is receiving information from the sensory neuron and then transfer the information to the motor neuron. The motor neuron is the one that carries the information away from the central nervous system, meaning that the brain and the spinal cord, to the effectors, so that certain response, certain action can be carried out. These neurons are very important in terms of enabling living organisms to detect and respond to the stimulus. We move on to an eye. The anatomy of a normal eye. The anatomy here we are referring to the structure of a human eye. You need to understand the structure of the human eye. Now we start with the first part that we can see there. Now the first part is the pigment. It's a transparent part that we see, which is called the cornea. From the cornea we have a dark dot which is in the middle of our eye, which is called the pupil. And the pupil allows light to enter into our eyes. We have the iris. It's a pigmented part of our eyes, meaning that some people have green iris, some have black iris, some have brown iris, some have greenish. Whatever color is your iris, it's beautiful, but you need to know the iris, it plays an important role in controlling the size of the pupil. It contains muscles, antagonistic muscles that work in pairs to control the pupil size in response to the light intensity. You really need also to understand those muscles and how they work, whether they contract or relax in a dim light or in a brighter light, and how they influence the pupil. At the back of the iris, we have the lens. Our lens changes shape when we are focusing on the object which is near or the object which is far. A concept in biology that we call accommodation. So you really need also to look at what is accommodation, what are some of the changes that occur not only from the lens, but as you look down, there are suspensory ligament and the serial muscles. What happened to them when you are focusing an object which is nearby or when you are focusing an object which is further apart? Then we have a retina, a very important part of our eye, because this is where you find the light sensitive cells. We also have a macula there. It plays an important role. We go back to the retina. We have a part called fovea. You need now to really understand. In the fovea, this is where most cones are found. The rods are mostly distributed throughout the retina, and the cones enable us to see different colors, to distinguish between different colors. The optic nerves, it carry the impulses from our environment. Then the impulses come from the front of our eye there, then it come and reach the retina, and from the retina the impulses leave the eye to the optic nerve, from the optic nerve to the brain, from the brain back to the optic nerve, and again back to the retina, so that we can able to see different image. You really need to know the parts of the human eyes, all these parts that we mentioned, as well as their function. Should also be able to label it, to correct labeling. You notice that this diagram has arrows. Please, when you label, the arrow in this case was just done so that you can see it clearly. But when you label, you do not use arrow. In biology, we do not use arrow. When you label, just draw a straight line from the structure that you are labeling or that you are asked to label. Good. The cycling of nutrients. We start with water cycle. Very, very simple. We did it. It's one of those subtopics that we have learned from lower grade, but still, it is in biology. The most important thing is to look at the water source. The sun hits the water evaporates, meaning that the water in a form of liquid changes in a gas. Another way where water can also be released in the atmosphere is through the process of transpiration. Transpiration, water, vapor released in the atmosphere, and clouds is formed. The formation of clouds from the gas is called condensation. Condensation, this cloud then return back. They melt up in the atmosphere and they come back on earth as rain or snow, and the process is called precipitation. And now once it rains, precipitation, or we call it rainfall, the water run off either into the river, or infiltration means the water move into the soil. Very good. So you really need to know these water cycles. The carbon cycle, the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is about 0.04%, although human activity now is increasing this level of carbon in the atmosphere. Very good, very simple. Carbon dioxide, plant absorb, meaning that plant remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere in the process of photosynthesis. Now, the plant use carbon for photosynthesis. The plant use carbon in a form of carbon dioxide. And then when the plant grow, the animal feed on the plant. When the animal feed on the plant, the animal respire. Because once the animal get food from the plant, the food are digested and then the soluble nutrients are transported to the cells. In the cells, this glucose combined with oxygen and a respiration occurs and carbon dioxide is produced. Carbon dioxide is excreted out of the animal body, and when the animal respire, it releases carbon dioxide. Now, so we have carbon dioxide going back in the atmosphere. We have our plants. When the plant die, or when the animal that fed on the plant die. Now, this dead plant and dead animal, if their dead body part remain in the soil for millions of years ago, then what happens is that they form what is called fossil fuel. The fossil fuel, when they are burned by the process called combustion, it releases carbon dioxide in the atmospheres. Now, plant also respires because plant also contain mitochondria. So they release carbon dioxide back in the atmosphere. Very simple. How is carbon dioxide removed from the atmosphere is by plant, by the process called photosynthesis. How it's released in the atmosphere, respiration by the animal, respiration by plant as well as combustion when we burn this fossil fuel. Another thing that you need to pay attention is nitrogen cycle. Now, nitrogen is one of those gases that is very abundant. 79%, not 90, sorry, but 79% of atmospheric air is nitrogen. Now, how does nitrogen, when it's so abundant but we don't use it? It's abundant but we don't use it in a pure form. We use it in a compound form. Now, let's start with nitrogen. Nitrogen in the air, in the soil we have plants that are called legumes. Now, what are the legumes? Legumes are plants like beans and peas. Legumes contain root nodules. The root nodules contain bacteria. And these bacteria, they have an ability to convert nitrogen into nitrate. That conversion of nitrogen into nitrate, we call it fixation. Nitrogen fixation. So bacteria in plant root of legumes plant, they have a biological nitrogen fixation, meaning that they are able to change nitrogen into a nitrate so that the plant can use nitrate to grow. That's why legume plants make the soil fertile. How do they make the soil fertile? By changing nitrogen into nitrate. And nitrate is a fertilizer that promotes growth because nitrate contains protein which is used by the plant to grow. Alright, now the bacteria, and this bacteria now, they release this bacteria now. What happened to the bacteria? The bacteria in plant roots, what happened to it is that When now these plants get nitrate, they grow. And now when the bacteria, when the bacteria in plant roots, the bacteria stay there in plant root, but the plant grow. When the plant grow, when some of the legume plant die, they release ammonia into the soil. Now, we also have our plants there. Now, we have ammonia in the soil, fine, which is coming from a dead plant. Now, we also have some of the legume plants and also some of the plant in that environment. They absorb nitrate from the soil and they are growing now. When these plants grow, or they are still young, but they can be eaten up by the animal eats this plant part. And when the animal eats the plant part, they obtain the nitrogen containing organic compound. Because when the plant eat the plant part, they get protein from that plant. And the protein contain nitrogen part. When the animal die, or when the animal urinate, they release ammonia in the soil. This ammonia, what happens is that in the soil, the ammonia is changed by the bacteria in the soil. And the bacteria in the soil change ammonia into nitrates. The process where ammonia change into nitrates is called nitrification. Now you have nitrates. Nitrates stays in the soil. Nitrates is converted into nitrate by a bacteria in the soil called nitrifying bacteria. Now these nitrates can be also either be used by the plant as a fertilizer for growth of this plant or any grass in the soil or any plant or tree in the soil. Now some of the nitrate can be converted back to the atmosphere so meaning that some of the nitrate will be converted into nitrogen by the bacteria in the soil called denitrifying bacteria. The denitrifying bacteria convert nitrate back into nitrogen. And the process whereby denitrifying bacteria convert nitrate into nitrogen, the process is called denitrification. Please, student, take note ways how nitrogen can be taken from the atmosphere, nitrogen fixation. We also have lightning, which is not included in this, but you should be able to know it in a sense that nitrogen is able to convert the nitrogen into nitrous oxide, which is then when it rains, it comes into the soil in a form of nitrate. And the plant will get nitrate there. So it's very, very important to familiarize with 3 different cycling, which are water cycle, carbon cycle, and nitrogen cycle. Then we look at the type of competition in an ecosystem. In an ecosystem, there are animals. There are those that are hunting. There are those that are looking for food, and there are those that are providing food. Now, you really also need to look at the type of competitors that are found in our ecosystem. So we do have natural competitors in our ecosystem. Furthermore, you really also look at the advantage and the disadvantage of organic fertilizer. Organic fertilizer are useful, but they can also have some challenges. Useful in the sense that the nutrients are released at a steady rate, meaning that the nutrients are not released at once. Another advantage of organic fertilizers is that the nutrients are released. Another advantage of organic fertilizer is that it improves the soil structure. So the soil structure is also enhanced. Then another advantage, it promotes the plant growth of that specific plant. The disadvantage is that it can be bulky. It can also be a site for the breeding of insect. Some insect might see the area, the bulkiness as a best environment, a best habitat for them to grow. Now, the benefit of conservation project, you need to look at what is conservation. Why should we conserve species? And not only species, but habitat. Because it's useless to conserve species. It is both vital to conserve a species and the environment. Because the environment, once you conserve it, this is the habitat. You will continue, you have a continuation of those species. You will have an ecosystem that is intact in terms of food chain and food web. So you need also to look at the benefit of conservational project. This is the end of the presentation for Bio 22. Thank you. Good luck. Again, for any information, anything that you need in terms of, you don't understand a certain topic, you need more clarification in terms of a certain topic or a certain question that you encounter in your study module, please email me or call me on the number or the email address provided on your screen. Thank you.